a brief presentation on the Japanese culture for Intro Community Policing class by Emilio Fernandez. To start off, just some basic facts. So it's a large island off the coast of Southeast Asia. Originally, it has many roots from China, with the first settlements being immigrants from China. It's colder in the north region, with a subtropical climate heading into the south region. Some brief history. The Jomon period, which consists from 14,000 to 300 BCE, was the first period. This period had nature-based spiritual practices and was known for pottery in regards to art. Not many people know too much compared to the others. Commonly, people associate the art with Heian period art, as more people have probably been exposed to print press art and such. But the Heian period was the following period and brought about royal arts with mediums that more people, like I said, may recognize, like print press. The Kamakura period followed that period, and was it introduced samurais, and ideas like discipline and loyalty. Okay, so the culture and customs. Japanese basic values include balance, harmony, discipline, loyalty, respect for authority, and community mindedness. Common practices include tea ceremonies, flower arrangements, also known as ikebana, and calligraphy. Some architecture that many people may know are shrines and gardens, and they commonly follow the basic principles of Japanese culture, which include, like I said, balance, harmony, and discipline. And the culture began its modernization in the 19th century and World War II, particularly with influence from the West, especially after World War II. Customs include bowing, removing shoes before going into homes, and exchanging business cards formally. You may see that commonly in many television and media. Previous common stereotypes. Admittedly, commonly believed stereotypes, which I would be one of them. I assume that the culture tended to be more leaning to what is seen on TV, strongly focusing on, as mentioned before, balance, harmony, and such. But I was surprised to learn more that it wasn't necessarily simply with that. There was more modern attributes to the culture. People commonly associate individuals of Asian descent with higher achievement in academics, business, etc. However, as we learned in community policing as well, this is not a good practice, as if an individual doesn't meet up to these standards that people place on them, they may feel less than and left out. Immersion, Japantown, San Francisco. So to immerse myself, I chose to visit Japantown, which is a location in San Francisco, which is luckily near Napa. And I had not planned any interviews beforehand, and I had just planned to go in and get any information I can by meeting people there, and I was lucky to do so. I went to 4 different locations. I'm going to speak about 3 just for the sake of time, but these 3 were Paper Tree, Belly Good, Cafe and Crepes, and Tokaido Arts. I do admit that the atmosphere was beautiful, and it definitely separated itself from the rest of San Francisco. It was very bright. There was flowers everywhere, as you can see in the images. It's definitely very organized and kept clean. The food was delicious, and the business was very welcoming. So just a quick summary on the interviews that I took. I first visited Paper Tree, and spoke to a staff member named CJ. Unfortunately, the owner wasn't present on that day. Her name was Linda. But he spoke of art, origami, and paper art. as well as the story of Sadako Sasaki, which was a little girl that was alive during the events of the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima, unfortunately. She crafted 1,000 origami cranes, with the belief that for every 1,000, it was equivalent to one wish, presumably for the health of those that suffered during that time. He also had made mention that there was a recent local cherry blossom festival, which is the largest festival that happens in that area. The next business I visited was Belly Good, and I spoke to a really kind individual named Ryoko, and she had given me a basic briefing of Japanese cuisine throughout the times. She had mentioned that currently things like what's popular right now would be like matcha and crepes and other sweets like that. But before then, it was more traditional foods, but it's still kept in modern cuisine, just as other aspects of the culture as well. But she also explained how there is a mutual respect between Western countries and Japan, despite the previous events that may have happened, including like World War II. There has been a bridge of respect built over things like TV, like anime, arts, all that type of stuff. The next business I visited was named Tokaido Arts. It's pretty intuitive, the name, but I spoke to an individual named Robert, and he had basically just given me a basic information on the methods of which Japanese art is created. I had thought that it was made through watercolor. That's what I thought I saw in the pieces, but then he showed me that it was actually made through print press, and it had different mediums which were nicely organized in a display that you can see in the in the middle picture. Okay. And on the bottom are the 3 photos of which the businesses I visited. Okay. So the cultural perception of law enforcement. So kind of ironic to what people may believe on the basic principles of including like balance, harmony, respect for authority, and all that. You'd be surprised to learn that there isn't necessarily as much respect for authority that people would think. It's actually, according to a survey, actually lower than American attributes of respect towards enforcement, as older generations have a stronger sense of respect for authority, and the newer generations have more of an emphasis on the idea that respect is no longer simply assumed but earned. Okay, and just the impact and some closing thoughts. I've definitely gained further respect and admiration for the culture as a whole. It was very fun, and it made me really happy to learn more. I love the Japanese culture. That's kind of why I selected it. I think it's very, very sophisticated, and I would definitely love to visit Japan itself someday, and I would encourage others to further learn more about the culture itself as I have. Thank you, and these are my works cited.